I've got a great Thanksgiving table centerpiece idea here using pumpkins, of course, but we're going to pair them with some succulents in this centerpiece. I think it's a great pairing because they both hold up really well. And what I wanted to do with this was to keep the pumpkin as kind of the centerpiece of it. So I'm using it in an elevated little footed bowl here. You could put it on a cake plate or any beautiful little piece of serveware that maybe you're not using for food could be used for the centerpiece. I've got some Oasis in the bowl, and then I've lined it with actually just some scraps of burlap that I had. I love this texture for this time of year. And I took a little bit of fall foliage and layered that down in the bottom of the bowl just to hide the Oasis and give some really pretty texture to that as well. So then I set my little pumpkin on top here. He's all intact. You don't have to do any carving or cutting on him. I think we've all seen the centerpiece where we cut the pumpkin open and put the flowers inside. Today we're going to do the opposite. Put the pumpkin on top and the flowers around it. So I took some of that extra scrap burlap and I'm just going to kind of create a little collar by tucking this into the Oasis around the pumpkin. I'm using what are called greening pins, but you could use little lengths of wire or something like that too, just to kind of tuck this in and hold this in place. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the burlap that I'm using is burlap that I picked up at the hardware store. I like this because the weave is a little more open. And that's going to be important because when I want to add the succulents in, they're actually going to go through the burlap. So I need to be able to get them in there. And if the weave is too fine, you'll fight all day with it and not have much luck. So we're just going to layer those around. I've got a wire run right through the succulent, which I know seems a little cruel, but they don't seem to mind too much. They'll hold up like this for weeks, so they're totally okay with it. It's a great thing to do with succulents too if you've maybe had some outside on your deck, maybe you brought them in, but maybe you're not thinking you're going to keep them all winter long. You can cut them apart like this and use them on your Thanksgiving table just for a beautiful contrast and texture. I love the green against the tone of the pumpkin. I just think that's a pretty combination. Let's get a couple more on the back here. And then to fill it around this, just to lend a little more color to it, I've got this beautiful fall foliage that we use a lot. So it's called liquid amber. It's a tree that grows a little bit south of here, and it provides gorgeous color. So this I'm just going to tuck in around just to provide a little bit of that fall color we love. You could use artificial foliage for this. You could use pressed leaves. Totally up to you, whatever you have at hand. Or even that preserved foliage you can pick up at the craft stores. So we're just going to tuck little tucks of this around. Because I only need this to last for a day, I'm not worrying too much about getting that into the Oasis. It's not going to matter too much if that has moisture. It'll actually just kind of dry in place. It'll get a little more crisp, but it won't wilt or anything like that. And then same thing goes with this seeded eucalyptus. I'm just going to tuck a few accents of this. I love the way this extends over the bowl, and I love the fact that its color matches the succulent. So it's this beautiful gray-green tone again, which is just really pretty. So we'll just fill around. And again, you know I love centerpieces that can be done in advance because who has time to make the flowers when you're busy in the kitchen? So this can certainly be done ahead of time and just kept in the garage so it stays a little cooler. And voila, we'll just keep filling as full or as simple as you want it to be, and it's a very simple but very on-trend Thanksgiving centerpiece.